Hello, everyone. Welcome again to one more segment of Women Empowered Live. I am your host, Pastor Danielle Taylor, and we are just excited to be here with you today and to share with you the wonderful stories and testimony of our beautiful guest who is just going to share with us a real organic conversation just about life, what it takes to be a professional woman and to continue to make it being a mother, being a wife, going through a divorce, then finding love again. So I'm excited to just go ahead and jump on into this topic. I do want to remind you that this broadcast is being brought to you by eChurch International. eChurch is the place where people meet God and Christians are equipped. You can join us online every Wednesday at 12 noon for this broadcast, as well as throughout the week randomly for just other videos of encouragement and empowerment. And I wanted to choose women. I've done authors for a year. I did business owners, both men and women, but I do believe that this is an important time with everything that's going on in our country, in our world, that we continue to bond together as women and encourage one another with the stories and the testimonies of our lives. Because I want to say this, Deidre, before we get started. Last week, I was in a tailspin. Oh my goodness. I called my apostle and I talked with him and I was just like, everything's just going wrong, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't get the answer that I was looking for that soothed my spirit from him. But my cousin, an older woman, been married 40 something years now, I think 45, 46 years now. She
Mhm.
called me. I went out for a walk. I decided to just walk and clear my head. And she called me and just out of the blue, she's never been this transparent. She started sharing stories with me about her marriage and some of the things that she had been through. And within 20 minutes of the conversation, that broke off of me. And it just showed me how we need one another as women to be able to share and pour into one another. Because some of the things she shared, I would never have guessed that she had been through, but still standing through so many years of marriage, still standing and doing the things that she's doing. And that's why I wanted to have you come on today, because I believe that you have been through um, enough adversity, and we're calling this success through adversity, but you're still smiling, you're still beautiful, and you are still moving on the path of success. And I love that for you. And I believe that what you have experienced will be able to help some other women. So before we go any further, I do want you to take a few moments to introduce yourself. You're known as Deidre the Realtor on Instagram, but you are also bivocational. You are a human resource director, and you're also a realtor with Caldwell Banker. So tell us just a little bit more about who Deidre is.
Okay, sure. And thank you. I'm honored to have this platform to share and empower other women. But of course, like you said, my name is Deirdre Darden. I am the mother of three sons. The oldest 32, the middle 28, and my youngest one is 22. They are all successful young men, very proud of them. Um, And I started out at Alabama State University and have my Bachelor of Science degree from Brenau University in Human Resource Management. But in my later years, I decided that real estate was truly my passion. So I am dual career. I work for a company out here in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's a small firm. And I started out in real estate about 2 years ago. April would have made 2 years to be exact. And I started out with Keller Williams, and now I'm with Coldwell Banker. And just to summarize, like who I am. Um, I am a divorced woman with three children. So divorce does not mean it's the end all. Sometimes it's the beginning. So I'm here to help other women as they go through life and its challenges and let them know that there is light on the other side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that would be a perfect place to start. Y'all, we may just jump all over the place in the timeline of Deidre's life, but you and I met at Carver High School. And we were beautiful teenage girls, just, hey, didn't know that all of these things in life was going to happen. And even though we weren't so close, saw each other, talked every day, over the years, I just believe that when you see good people and you meet them, that carries throughout life. And you noticed without me even posting anything particular, when I was going through my divorce, you sent a message. You said, "Hey, I just kind of see or sense some things, in the spirit. Are you okay?" And we hadn't talked in years. And I'm a very private person, so it was different for me to just kind of open up and be transparent. But you were one of the people that God used behind the scenes just to, again, like my cousin did last night, share some things that you had experienced going through your divorce. And it helped to encourage me and help me to just see life where it was. And one of the things that you did say to me at that time that you just said a few minutes ago, it's not the end of the road. But how
Right.
did you do it? Let's talk with some. I know there's plenty of women that may be watching that. Hey, you were in love like we were. You thought that was
Yes.
going to be it. I have found my Boaz, whatever you call him. This is all, and this is going to be forever. And then forever actually ends up having an ending. How did you maintain? How did you go through that?
Well, that's a journey in and of itself. Um, it was a struggle, when I was going through what I was going through in my marriage. I didn't share it with a lot of people. I had a really close girlfriend that I kind of shared everything with, and she would encourage me um, on my day to day journey. And so I prayed a lot. I did a lot of self talk, and I encouraged myself a lot. And I know one of the things your topic was about finding love again. And I have to say that it wasn't about me finding love again. It was about me loving myself
Mm,
and understanding who I was as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, because I also have two grandchildren. How could I forget them? Um, and when I realized that I was accepting less than what I deserved, I had to have the strength to walk out on that marriage. And I will say this, I will preface it by saying, not to down anyone in the church, but I had a lot of church women, and they meant well. Hold your marriage together. And they gave me scriptures in the Bible where it said to stay with your husband. But I had to know God for myself, and I was like, this is not of God. The way that I am being treated in this marriage is not the way God would want me to be treated. And so I had to, get the confidence to leave the marriage. And I will say that he and I are, we have a great relationship to this day. But it was time for me to own who I was, just to know what it was that I needed to do. I had been through so much adversity in the past with raising children, and it was just time for me to do some self care and take care of me. And so I would encourage every woman to know yourself, to love yourself, and to put your needs. Sometimes you have to be a little selfish and put your needs above others, but because you can't pour from an empty cup, you have to be able to take care of yourself.
yes, and that's one of the things that you did share with me at the time as well. Is if it's not good for you, don't be afraid to walk away. And I can identify with what you are saying as far as the advice from church. Now, I'm a pastor and you're a minister too, correct? And you were married to an assistant pastor, a man who had been a pastor. And
Correct.
it was so hard for me to let go. I'm a natural fighter and a problem solver in life. If there's a way to be found, I'm going to try 29, 30 ways until I get what it is that I want. And then I had so many people telling me, this would be such a great testimony if you all can just hold on. But in the holding on, I kept losing pieces of myself that were so essential for me to be who God wanted me to be. I lost pieces of my identity. My self-worth was down in the toilet because when you're in a situation and you're not happy and you know it's not working for you and you keep trying to make it work, it's like you spend all of your time and energy trying to prove yourself, trying to make it work, and it's just depleting you. And I was so empty. And I remember being at the mediation, and I could have fought a little bit longer. My attorney was like, "Hey, you've got grounds for the judge to take this and throw it out. If you go before the judge, it's not irreconcilable differences." And I walked outside, and I know I heard God as clear as day say, "Danielle, give him back to me." And that was as simple as God saying, "Let it go. It's okay." And I just want to say, from my experiences and from what I have read of the word, God does not want his daughters and his sons to be at odds and to be miserable and unhappy. And some things just don't work. And I believe that's why Moses was able to give the written decree of divorcement, because sometimes it just does not work. And God, that I don't believe that's his plan. He doesn't want divorce to happen, but I believe he gives us grace to be able to exit situations that's just not good for us. And my testimony, just like yours, is now my ex-husband and I are the best of friends. We can stay on the phone and talk an hour and a half, 2 hours, laugh and everything else. And it's so much better because that pressure is gone of the stress of the marriage.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and I wanted to tap onto something too, because one of the things we were talking about off camera is also being a wife in ministry.
Yes.
The challenges of that. What were some of the things that you faced that may or may not have been detrimental to your marriage, as far as all of the things that comes along with ministry as well?
I think the sacrifice was one of the biggest things. Is that I wasn't called to be a minister's wife. And so I didn't know what that looked like. And I thought that because that title was there, that I had to operate in a certain way. But I found that just being myself was just being more authentic, and people respected you more for being yourself. But some of the challenges were just taken away from the things that I wanted to do or that I needed to do for my family, and following him to speaking engagements, or past having to be a guest speaker at a church or different functions. And so I thought that my place was by his side. And so, I mean, when you're married, you do have to do some of those things with your spouse to make sure that you're showing that support. But that was a challenge for me because I wasn't accustomed to that. And that's not what I wanted to do on a Saturday, or I didn't want to stay at church all day on Sunday. I didn't want my weekend to consist of those different types of events. But those were some of the challenges. And then also, him having calls, during the day or at night, counseling sessions, because you have to be supportive of your spouse when they're in that role. And so, I was a little selfish and wanted that time to myself. So those were some of the challenges that I faced in that time during that time.
I mean, it is definitely a different kind of marriage and relationship. There's
Yeah.
so much more responsibility. When we were talking off screen, I was saying, when you're married to somebody that's a CEO of some company, or he has another job, you don't have to go to work with him. You
Absolutely.
can have your
Absolutely.
job and your life
Yeah.
separately. But when you are married to a pastor or someone in ministry, not only do you have to go to work yourself
Yeah.
and take care of the children and the household, but
Yeah.
then probably 75 to 80% of the time you got to go to work with him and be involved in what's happening there and take notes and help get events together, make sure the church is clean, make sure this person is in place, pick up the slack when he's not able to get it finished. But if your husband doesn't do his work when he's on a regular job, you don't have to go in and help him finish it.
Exactly, exactly. And I think the expectation was that, oh, well, she should be perfect. There's this expectation that you should just be in this little box. And I think that when you are a strong woman and you're used to some level of independence and taking care of yourself, it's hard to transition to being somewhat of um, I'm not going to say servant, because I am a servant leader. That's my leadership style. So I understand the role. But I think there was such an expectation on what it is you should be as opposed to who you really are. And I think that it's important for every woman to just own who they really are. It may not look like the next woman. Your marriages, no two marriages are going to look the same. The mothers are not the same because we experience different things with our children, with our family. And so the expectation is that you should be this one way, but I think you should be who God called you to be and own who you are.
Absolutely, because so many things can change, even with dress and appearance. Anybody that knows me knows I'm barely 5 foot 2 inches tall, and I don't need to be. Oh my goodness, why did my camera flip? I don't need to be anywhere. Let's try this again. Okay. And I don't need to be anywhere with anybody's dress to the floor because
Yeah.
I'm going to look like I'm short and fat. And I'll never forget when I finally got divorced. One of my best friends, and he's a fashionista, he said,
Okay.
"Girl, now you can wear some dresses to your knees and dress up and really look like who I know you to be." And it's not that I'm not going to say my husband was making me do that or anything. It's the pressure of being in that position, and you don't want to show too much skin. You don't want to be too flashy. It's like so much pressure that's on you. Like, even I didn't want to. This is a sleeveless dress that I have on, so I wasn't going to come on and do a live with it.
And
But
I love those.
yeah, but just owning a dress like this, I would have never, it wasn't going to be in my closet because I always felt like somebody was judging me, someone was watching. And
Yeah.
that's just the freedom of not being in that place anymore. I love ministry. I miss the fellowship and the camaraderie with a lot of the ladies that were there, and just even being in the place for people to be able to look up to the God in me. But at the
Right.
same time, it was costing me so much of myself that I think I'd really much rather be in the place that I'm at right now. And I'm at
Yeah.
peace.
And we all have our own relationship. Just like our
Mhm.
children each have their individual relationships with us. We have our own relationships with God. And so as long as God and I have an understanding, I'm okay. And it doesn't matter what the other person feels about me. I recently had a trip with my cousin and my aunt. We all grew up together, and we were on this trip and we were having dinner. And the question came up is, if you could change anything about your life, what would you change? And the three of us, all in our 50s, we were
Mhm.
like, there's absolutely nothing that we would change. We are in the best space in our lives right now. It's a freedom that you have at this age and at this level of maturity, where if someone doesn't understand your journey, it's okay, because it's not their journey. It's my journey. And whatever decisions I make, as long as I'm comfortable with those decisions, I'm okay with that. And I see women, sometimes you never know who's watching you on social media or in your everyday walk. But I've had women come up to me and just say, hey, they'll just start sharing their story with me. And I don't ask for it. And one of the things I remember when I reached out to you when you were going through your journey in your marriage, I said to you, I I am not asking anything from you. I don't want to know any of it. But this is my story. And I began to share my story with you. Now, whether you wanted to share yours or not, it was fine. And I want you to know that I struggled with making that, with reaching out to you, because I kept praying. I was like, Lord, should I say something? Because I don't want her to think that I'm being nosy or I'm overstepping. But I did want to share what I was going through, because I wanted it to maybe, bless you. And what I don't, for me, I'm just as transparent as I can be with people, because if my story can help someone else, I would like to share that story with them. I don't understand the test without the testimony. If I can just help one person, that's why I share my story. I can hold it, but it's not always time. And God gives me discernment on who to share with and who not to share with.
Yes, and you did absolutely hear his voice, and it was good that you shared, and we appreciate you even sharing with us today. You said something a few minutes ago, and I want to coin this phrase, so hopefully you won't charge me for it. But the freedom of 50. Oh, Deidre, let me tell you. Girl, I was in a tailspin, like midlife crisis thing, because my divorce happened when I was 48.
Mhm.
And yeah, because I've been divorced 3 years. So I was 48 or 47, about to turn 48. And I just felt like at this point in my life, I don't want to go into 50 and be divorced, be by myself. I was about to have an empty nest. I have one now. How am I going to manage through this? And then I found what you call the freedom of 50. But to get to that place is really challenging. And I guess I just kind of wanted to know how you felt when you got to that 50 threshold, and how did you even deal with the changes in your body, different
Oh,
things that happen when a woman turns 50. Like, what advice can you offer a lady who's reaching that, well, she's about to cross that 50 threshold? What are the challenges that she'll face, and what does she have to look forward to?
yeah. So menopause is one of them. All the hot flashes and not being able to sleep at night. I just wanted a good night's sleep. And I realized that some of the things that we can do is exercise. Make sure that you have a regimen. I don't care if it's 30 minute workout in the morning. So I make sure that I get on my treadmill throughout the day. I changed my diet because some of the foods that we ate when we were younger, they just don't agree with us today. So you make sure that you're checking your diet and eating the proper foods. And self care, you have to have some time. So one of the things that I enjoy about just reaching this age and having being an empty nester is my peace. Just having that alone time with yourself and God and whatever it is you want to do with that time, it's just you and being able to say no. There was a time I couldn't say no. I was trying to be everything to everybody. So
Mhm.
it's okay to say no. I don't want to do that today. I don't have anything else to do, but that's just what I want to do. It's nothing. And so that's just that self care that you have to put you first, because our bodies are constantly changing. Make sure that you exercise those muscles that you haven't normally exercised. Try to walk. You gotta walk. Just taking care of your body, and have those conversations with your primary doctor, or your GYN, and just say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Do you have anything? Now, I'm very particular about what I put in my body, so I'm a natural person. So I ask, what are some natural things that you can recommend for me to do? But just have those conversations and know your body. Pay attention to the changes in your body. It's okay.
Right. And because you can still enjoy life. And that was what I was afraid of. I was afraid I won't be able to enjoy myself. I hear all of that. I was so afraid. The same cousin who's so much older, she was telling me, you're going to have hot flashes. You're going to go through this. You're going to go through that. And it was all of the woe. And I wasn't getting, okay, but this is the remedy. And if you do this, then
Yeah.
you will be able to still enjoy yourself. And you hit something key as far as staying active,
Mhm.
because you'll start needing to crank yourself up in the morning where you can
Yes.
just pop out of the bed. But I definitely feel like I still feel like I'm 28. And
Yeah.
because I take care of myself, and that's one of the things that, if I just want to say too, to add to what you said, is if you take care of yourself and you are consistent with keeping up with your health, keeping up with what's going on in your body, you'll feel a difference, but it won't be so drastic. You won't be
Yeah.
immobile. You'll still be able to go forward and enjoy life.
Yes, and get you a good moisturizer
Oh
for your
yeah.
face. Make sure you take care
Cause
of your
y'all look, we
skin.
don't have
You're
no, I
beautiful.
don't have no filters on over here. And I have a little bit of makeup on, but it's not heavy.
Beautiful.
But yeah, you can take care, and your skin is absolutely beautiful. And I was admiring some of your pictures. Girl, I gotta get my stomach back flat. I'm working on it, but you are
Me too.
still in shape. You are still absolutely in shape and just taking care of yourself. And I just call it this is my fabulous age now. So I'm gonna add the freedom to it. I'm fabulous and free, because the other thing that I believe that happens at 50 is that you get more of a boldness and a confidence about
Absolutely.
who you are. If you don't know who you are when you 20, when you 30, when you 40, by the time you get to 50, something just clicks in, and you know what you're not going to tolerate, what you are going to tolerate, what you like, what you don't like, and you just get the boldness to be able to say no.
Right.
I'm not, I don't do that. I'm good.
Right.
We're gonna let somebody else do that and
Yes.
be okay with it. And I think in the younger years, we kind of succumb to peer pressure a little bit more. But when you hit that 50 mark, for
Yes.
me, something just went inside. I said, I don't care about peer pressure. I lost a really dear friend. I love her dearly. And maybe, our friendship would circle back around, but we had some disagreements about some things. And I just had to really put my foot down and say, no, at my age, I'm not going to let anybody strong arm me into following
Right.
their opinion or their ways, because I think, and I'm going to hit spiritual here because I'm starting to feel a little something, because I think
Mhm.
and believe that also what comes into our mind at 50 is our mortality,
Mhm.
and our mortality starts to become a thought. And we start to look over our lives and say, have I really fulfilled my purpose? God, have I done what you created me to do? And whatever I'm lacking in, it's time for me to go ahead and work a little bit harder and do more, because we can achieve all of the success, we can achieve all of the wealth that we want in this life, but it's going to come to an end. And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to an end, we have got to stand before our Creator and give an account, what the Bible says, of how we lived our lives, what we did. And I believe that 50 threshold for me gave me the point to say, whatever I have to back away from and pull away from for now or even permanently, God is okay, because I got a destiny that I've got to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill. And I don't know, how did you feel in that regards, as far as, and then now we're going to get into just talking about more about what you're doing in your life and in your profession, but just being at that 50 threshold and looking at where you are and saying, okay, God, this is how I'm going to move forward in my career and in what you created me to do.
Yeah. I think it was more about, owning and being the person that I needed to be for me,
Mm-hmm.
and not being what everyone else wanted me to be or what everyone else thought that I should be or do. And you do have people that will share their opinions with you and tell you how they feel. Um, but if it doesn't line up with what God and I have already established in my life, it's okay. That's just their opinion. It is so. I just realized that it was so imperative that I choose the path that I needed to take for me.
Mm-hmm.
um, because I can't live my life for someone else and they can't live their life for you. And what type of life is it if you're not living your life, your purpose-filled life? Your life will only have purpose if you're living your authentic life. If you're living it for someone else, you're not fulfilling your purpose, you're fulfilling theirs. And so for me, when I chose, I have a little testimony. When I moved in my home 3 years ago, I was working at a company, and I won't name the company. But when I moved here, I thought I don't want to work. I don't want to work for that company anymore. It's not. It's draining me. I didn't like the manager, and it was causing me a lot of stress. So I stepped out on faith, and I left. And the next day, I started real estate school. And so I felt like I was fulfilling my purpose because it was something that I had already thought about, always thought about, but I wasn't able to do it. I wasn't in a position to do it financially. And so it allowed me the opportunity to fulfill some of the things that I wanted to do. And I had people telling me, oh, you should give a 2 week notice. That's what they wanted me to do. That's not what God told me to do. God told me I wasn't going back to that job, and I didn't go back.
Right.
And so I think that it is just important to just walk in your purpose. Sometimes we choose a different path. And when we choose a different path, it brings on pain. We're going to have to go through that pain because that's not what God told you to do. And even in my marriage, that may not have necessarily been the man that God chose for me. That's the man that I chose for myself. And when I realized that, that is something that I chose for myself, and this is the path that I took. Now I'm going to have to go through this pain. And through that pain, I found my purpose. And so when you find your purpose, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It's just about you because I just have to be true to myself. I can't be any other way. I can't be fake. I can't tell you that I like something when I don't like it. I can't tell you that I want to go somewhere just because you want to go. And I'm not gonna make you go where I want to go. I go by myself. I have freedom and I can sit at a dinner table, and this was something that I couldn't do before, and have dinner by myself. I can take a walk by myself in the park. I can do all of these things for myself. And I think when I realized that I was comfortable with me, and no matter what happened, I was going to walk this journey by myself, that's when this new person appeared in my life. And they were just like, okay. And I said, okay, I'm open to that. But I still have that thought in my mind that I'm always going to be okay on this journey. If it's just me and God, I'm okay.
Wow, absolutely. And I applaud you for having that mindset, because so many people find it hard, and I was even one included, because I'm just a person. I like company, I like people. I'm around people all day long. When I get home, I want people to be around me. And one of the challenges, and my therapist and I had to work through it, she said, Danielle, give yourself 4 seasons. just with you. Don't try to even have a man in your life right now. Get to know you and get to love you. And what that helped to do is you found love again. I'm dating. I'm gonna call it that. I'm dating
Okay.
and have been dating consistently the same person for the last 2 years. And, I'm hoping it's going to be that ultimate love connection. But it made me better for that new person. So I'm just excited to hear about you finding love again now and just what that journey has been like.
Okay. It just kind of happened. I have a really good friend of mine, my kid's aunt. She reached out to me and she'd been trying to introduce me to this person. I want to say even 15, 20 years. And I would always say, no, I don't want to meet him. Um, it just, the opportunity just never presented itself. So this particular day she called me and she said, hey, we're at his house. We're all four. She had started dating his cousin. She said, we're all about to go out to eat. Do you want to come? And I said, well, yeah, I'll come. I'm looking bummy, but I'll come. And he was saying the same thing. So I got to the house and I mean, instantly you could see that there was a physical, attraction. He's a nice looking guy and same here. And we hit it off and we've been dating since that day. So
Wow.
yeah.
That hey, that is a good way for it to start. Very similar with my situation. We met one day, talked, there was a connection, and we've been connected ever since. And I
Yeah.
like dating. That was my fear. My fear was I want to be married. And I mean, I'm a wife. I'm a wife.
Yeah.
Don't y'all get this twisted. Those of you that are watching and any potential husbands out there, I am a wife. I'm not a dater. I am
Right.
definitely a wife. I loved being a wife. I loved serving my husband. I loved being there with him. I loved the essence of everything that a wife is. I loved it. I didn't understand what it was like to date or what it would be like to date at this point in time, but I'm really enjoying it. Like I say, especially not having to be a pastor's wife. I get to go to my job. He goes to his job. We see each other, may go to dinner, see each other a couple of days a week. If I don't want to be bothered, that's fine. He don't want to be bothered, that's fine. If we want company, that's fine. And I'm just enjoying that because it's helping to build up my self-esteem again, help
Mhm.
me just really get more into that place where I'm okay being by myself. I'm okay being with
Mhm.
someone because that's one of the devastations that happens when you go through a divorce. You got to learn all over again how to be okay with you. And now that I've gotten it back, I don't want to lose it at all.
Absolutely. And it's about, feeling confident with yourselves. And, with me being an HR director, I work in a company it's a male dominated industry. It's the automotive industry. And so first of all, I'm the only African American
Mm.
and I'm the only African American woman. So it is, I, I thought that it would be difficult for me to be in that space and in meetings and in leadership meetings and making decisions, executive decisions, but it hasn't presented the challenges that I thought it would. And I think that I was standing in my own way. It was just all in my head. And I'm not to say that it doesn't exist. It's just that God put me in a position to be able to lead a certain way. And that came with those experiences, those challenges that I've had to face in the past, and the confidence that God gave me to say, hey, you deserve a seat at this table. And so I own that and I continue to make decisions that, they may not always agree with me, but I give my recommendation and I don't force it on anyone. So here's my recommendation in this HR space, and you can take the recommendation or not. And at the end of the day, I know that I've done what I set out to do. And in terms of real estate, it kind of all ties in because it's all about serving. So I'm wearing multiple hats in this real estate space as well as HR. So I'm listening. I'm a counselor because if
Hmm.
you're ever in a space where you're trying to help find somebody a house or sell their house, you got to listen to their story. What's the motivation behind you selling your house? What's the motivation in you purchasing a new home? It's no different in HR. I listen to problems on a daily. Um, and it's about being able to have empathy and the emotional intelligence to pick up on some things. And I just love both. So somebody asked me, okay, so you do real estate part time? And I said, no, I don't do real estate part time. I'm not a part time mother. So, for women, we always have to choose like, okay, do we do this? Do we do that? Can we do this? We can have it all. We really can. It's just about how you manage your time. And so I'm not a part time HR director. I'm not a part time real estate agent. I do it both. I do it all. And I still manage my family, my career, you know, um, the divorce is something that I chose to get a divorce because I needed to get a divorce, and for a time it brought me sadness, but it's just like death, they're cycles, and so once I mourned that divorce and realized who I was again, found myself, and I was able to just jump back in and, reinvent myself, so to speak.
Wow. And I know it's a challenge to do all of those things, but you do it so well and you make it look so good. And we just appreciate you being a representative of women in those seats of power and authority, and especially for Black women. Before we wrap it up, I do want to get this because I do want to make sure that we are sharing with our viewers, especially when we re-air this and I pull clips out. I want to give some solid, tangible information on this housing market, what we can do to really get ourselves in a better position to be homeowners, and just some of the challenges that may come about now that this country is headed towards a recession. And
Mhm.
just even again, the value, especially for any young person that's watching, the value of being a homeowner in this day and time, because there's so many options, and people are just telling everybody, you should do this, you should do this. I guess we'll just start here. Is it still the best thing to be a homeowner versus a renter?
Absolutely. I'm gonna always say, not because I'm a realtor, but home ownership is always it's always a good time to own your own piece of land. Um, and I don't think that there are any negatives in owning that, because the rental prices are going up. So I'm just going to give you an example. My first client, she called me and she said, "Hey, I'm about to rent this apartment. It's a 2 bedroom. It was $2,300 a month." And I thought, you can own your own home for $2,300 a month. She didn't think that she could do it. So she now owns her own townhome. She got an interest rate. She was able to buy down her rate to a 5.25. Her mortgage is less than the $2,300 that she would have been paying for rent. And she is a owner. And so what that means is, if you're renting, you're not building any equity. When you are a homeowner, you are building equity, especially in a subdivision. If someone buys a house down the street from you, guess what? You just earned $10,000 in equity. You didn't have to pay for it. Your house is earning equity every time a home sells in a certain um, proximity to you. So I look at it this: what other investment can you make, and you're earning $10,000, $20,000 because of somebody else? So I think that it's a great opportunity. I moved in my house 3 years ago. I've already earned $100,000 worth of equity. So if I sell it today, I make $100,000, and I haven't put that into the house. So I think it's a great opportunity. The market is still good. You just have to make sure that you align yourself with the right lender, see what your options are, and I always say try 3 different lenders to see who gives you the best rate and qualifies you for the most money. There are different programs out here for first-time homeowners. So if you are looking to purchase a home, or if you're looking to sell your home, give me a call at 404-932-8851. And I am Deirdre the Realtor on Instagram.
So let me ask you this. You said something a moment ago. You said she was able to buy down her rate. What
Yes.
does that mean?
So that is, I always tell people I'm a realtor, I'm not a lender. But I
Okay.
would say reach out to a lender, talk to them about buying down your rate. Sometimes when people qualify and they have a great credit score,
Mm-hmm.
your lender will give you the option to buy down your rate. Say, for instance, the market right now is like 6.38. You can buy down that rate to 5.38 if you have a good credit score. That's going to cost you, but you can buy that down. And if you plan on staying in that house for the next 30 years, I would recommend that you buy down the rate. Now, if you plan on staying in that house 5, 6 years, you may want to leave the rate at what it is. And when you sell, you'll still get the equity from that home. But I have some different lenders that I can put people in touch with if they give me a call, or you can choose your own lenders.
And so I know the price of houses have gone up tremendously, and you're right. I noticed just about a little over $100,000 increase in equity in my house, and I didn't know that. Now it makes sense to me because 4 or 5 houses on my street alone sold within the last couple years. And when I went and got an appraisal done in my house about a year ago and saw the equity, y'all, I did. I went and got a little bit of it out because
Yes,
I didn't even know it existed, and I missed it
absolutely.
at the time. Thank God. But I know the price of houses have gone up so much. And sometimes may make people a little fearful
Mhm.
of buying. And I know you did touch on first time home buyer programs. Is that the only thing, or are there some other things that you know of that would assist people into getting into homes?
Well, the first thing I tell people is to manage your finances. Make sure that you are watching your credit, and making sure that your credit score is because most companies, lenders, they say you just need a 580. But what happens when you just have a 580? During that process of waiting for your closing date, anything could go wrong. It can go down 1 point. If it goes down 1 point, now you're no longer qualified for that home. So we want to make sure that your credit score is at least at like a 620. Make sure that you're paying off some debt because they're looking at your debt to income ratio, and looking at how much house you can afford. So just position yourself in, with your finances and making sure that you do qualify for a home. You don't want to overextend yourself. So sometimes it may not be the right time for a person to buy,
Mm-hmm.
but just position yourself. And it's okay to reach out to a lender and get, some people are so scared to get their credit pulled, but it's okay to reach out to a lender, let them pull your credit score and go over your options. You don't know what you don't know. So you can have them pull your credit and they tell you what you need to do to prepare yourself to purchase a home. But the first time home buyer, they're giving you your down payment. So for FHA loan, they're going to give you 96.5%. So you need to come up with the other 3.5. For a conventional loan, it's 20% down. There are ways to offset that as well. But if you're buying a new construction, a lot of times the builder has incentives, if you use their preferred lender. But if you are buying a resale, there are also options. We can go and ask the seller to help pay the closing costs. And a lot of times sellers are so, they want to sell their home, so they're willing to give you the closing costs to sell. So I think that those are all just various options. And I would just recommend reaching out to your local realtor or myself to talk about these different options. And I can put you in touch with a lender for financing.
Absolutely. So, and this is a good place to stop because we have your information on the screen. Again, your number is 404-932-8851. Deidre, the realtor on Instagram. And as you all see, we kind of went backwards and came back to now, but she is a woman with a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of life experiences, someone who is at a place of confidence in her career and what she's been able to do and accomplish. And if you are in the Atlanta area, am I saying that right?
Yes.
If you are in the Atlanta area, she is definitely your realtor of choice. I am going to say, don't go anywhere else. Don't go to anybody else. You call her. What is, I guess, the radius of the areas that you cover or will cover?
Well, let me just put a plug in there. So I can do real estate anywhere. So say for instance, you're in another state and you don't know a realtor, reach out to me. I can put you in touch with a realtor there, and that would still, you still would be my client. We would share that. But for here, I will cover any. I have a home in Fitzgerald, Georgia right now. So anywhere in Georgia, I can assist you. I can also give a referral to those that are outside of my my parameter. and we can make it work.
Wow. And that's good information to know. I think in my head, I'm going to be in the market maybe a year or so to get a new house. I was going to move this year, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of pulled some of the money out, but then I'm still healing. So I
Hmm.
think about another year for me, I'm going to be ready for my, if not my house with my new husband,
Hmm.
my girl pad and my forever home, because like we said, I'm
Yes,
not going to stop the process of what it is that I want. Hopefully I
absolutely.
found love and it'll stay, but if I don't find it, I still want a really nice home. But it's good to know that, because I would definitely want to make sure that when I make that move, that I find you and give you my business. I make you
Okay.
this promise on live. Even like you said, if you just got to connect with somebody here and you're able to get something off of it, I do want to make sure that I throw that into your life. And those people that are watching, I mean, Deidre's from this area. Like I said, went to Carver High School as well. So those of us that's in Columbus, Georgia, if you're looking at purchasing a home, and make sure that you reach out to her so she can get you connected, so that our hometown girl can still
Yes.
be able to benefit from the people that's in the community that she grew up with. I really enjoyed talking with you today. Thank you so much for joining in with us. And what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, is just give you some last remarks and just comments, any advice that you want to give, any encouragement that you want to give to any women who are watching this program. And then we normally end with a prayer. So after you give your final remarks, if you don't mind just giving us a short closing prayer, then we're just going to end the broadcast that way. So Deidre's voice is going to be last voice that you all hear. So I do want to say to those of you who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in with us. We're going to see you again next Wednesday at 12 noon. If you are a lady that you're watching and you want to empower other women with your story, with tidbits and nuggets of information from your profession, like Deidre did today, please do get in touch with me so that we can get you on our lineup. I tell everybody, I call myself the preacher next door, because I never want to put myself on this pedestal where I'm not touchable. I'm just like you are, being a servant leader. So what I'm
Mhm.
saying to you, you can just be a regular everyday woman that you just got a testimony of what you've been through as a mom.
Yes.
Please reach out to me, because what you've experienced as a mother is going to help somebody else who has been a mother. So thank you all again for joining us. And Deidre, we're going to let you close us out.
Okay. Well, one of the things I just wanted to leave with you, I know you said finding love, and just, for every person listening on today, it's just finding the strength to love yourself. Sometimes when we have gone through bad experiences, we can feel low and down about ourselves, and we are our worst critics. But God loves you no matter what circumstances you've been in, no matter the situation. So just love yourself, and find that true love within your heart for yourself, and love will find you.
That's
And I just want to end it with that and say a short prayer, like, Lord, thank you for this opportunity today, and for giving me this platform to speak to every woman or man on this platform. And I want you to continue to bless each church, continue to bless Danielle as she brings forth this platform for every woman and empowering each and every woman. Whatever she decides to do, Lord, let her do it for your glory. Let it edify you. And Lord, I just thank you for this day. And I hope that each and every woman on this platform today has heard something that empowers them and gives them the strength to move forward in their daily walk. And I just thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. God bless you all. We'll see you all next week. You have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.
Thank you.